Okay, so our first presenter is Chloe. So is she here yet? Yeah, okay, so if you want to start.
I just want to start by saying this has been a really great year, and I've learned so much about something that I haven't even given thought of. So, I have part of my project here with me, and I don't have the rest of my project done because it requires more time. So, I'm going to give you more of a timeline of what I've been doing and just how it's been so far this year. Um, So in the beginning of the year, I started my project asking myself, how can I focus on climate change and keep it light and engaging? And so I chose butterflies and specifically monarchs. And why I chose monarchs is because we are we're looking at climate change and how we can kind of sort of make it better for everybody, including the environment itself. And so I thought Monarchs was a really great chance to focus on more of our agriculture itself and the plant life around us. And monarchs are really great because they are a pollinator species and they are an indicator species as well. And what an indicator species is they travel wherever the plant life is good. And so in the summertime, when it gets hotter here, they travel to the northern states and then they travel down to California. And then when it gets colder, they head down to Mexico. And recently, the awareness of monarchs has risen because the state and, well, the government, the United States government has not been really good to the monarchs. And so we've had to kind of start petitions for them to be saved as endangered species. Um, so doing things like planting wildflowers and just being aware that they are an endangered species is one of the things to spread word about. And so I've created this big book that I wish I could show you, where I've listed everything that they enjoy to eat and where they go and what they do. And all this year I've been in greenhouses and learning about how certain plants affects monarchs and how I can better that. And so I've started planting all kinds of wildflowers from milkweeds to butterfly bushes and everything under the sun to where I can plant them in my front yard and I can throw seed balls and all of that. And so, um, working with my ESCI teacher, especially, I've learned that patience is key and everything takes patience. And so, with the monarch, the monarch butterfly population decreasing, I feel like over time, if we spread more awareness about it, it will increase again. But that's all I really have to share.
Okay, does anyone have any questions?
I love butterflies.
You said that part of your project wasn't done. What is that part that you are still working on?
So I'm still working on getting the book together and complete. And then because things take time, I'm waiting on the flowers to grow and so I can plant them all over. And I'm hoping to go into Durango and kind of ask if I can plant them here and there. And then I'm gonna go up to where we took our field trip in the beginning of the year and hopefully throw seed balls around to help kind of spread that availability.
So I have a question. So what plants would you recommend just planting in my backyard that could help the monarchs?
I really recommend butterfly bushes and milkweed. I think those are kind of the two that they really enjoy. And there's all kinds of things that they don't like. They don't like a lot of lamb's ear, and they're really attracted to colors like blue and purple.
Hmm.
So,
Are lupins okay?
what, Bear?
Are lupins okay?
I don't think so.
Okay.
They you can plant zinnias too and marigolds,
Okay.
and that helps a lot. Any other questions?
I have another question. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm wondering if like when you're continuing your project, if you can look into like what types of wildflowers are good to plant at like higher elevation. Because I know there's a lot of and flowers that like I don't know would not grow in Silverton, but I don't know. So I don't know if that's something you'd be interested in when continuing your project, but just a thought.
I think that's a great thought there, and I definitely would look into it. I bought this rescue mix, and it was a whole big giant mix of all kinds of flowers and good stuff for them. And I'm sure that it'll grow at high elevations, but I would have to double check. That's actually a really good point.
Cool. Thank you.
Of course.
I think that that's a really cool project that you're working on. Yeah, and I think planting flowers here in Durango, that would help like make the town more beautiful with all the flowers, but also help with the butterflies. So I think that's a really good idea. So good job.
Thank you, Nadine.
Okay, so is that it?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
We still have 3 minutes left. So does anyone have any other questions or what should happen now?
We can just move on to James. So whenever you're ready.
Hi, James. I am happy to share my screen for you if you want me to present some pictures of your work.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so hello, my name is James Patla. I am a freshman at Durango High School, and I created a project that I like to call a curriculum for climate change. So, a brief description of project. So, essentially, what I've created was a classroom lesson plan for teaching high school students about climate change and how it is affecting their community and the world. I choose to do this project because I feel in general there is not enough awareness about the effects of climate change, and it is often dramatized in large TV productions with lots of video and audio of beautiful parts of the planet that doesn't tie climate change to the individual. And I love some of those too, but I want every person to learn that climate change is not something big out there a million miles away. It does affect their community, and it is something they should care about. For example, one of the local experts I spoke to in order to learn more about how climate change is affecting the Four Corners was Jeff Derry, who is the executive producer of the executive director, of the Center for Snow and Avalanche Studies in Colorado. Jeff and I spoke about the studies that the center does into snowpack, weather, soil, and plants in Colorado to better understand how changes in environmental conditions, weather, and climate are affecting our ecosystem. So, to build my curriculum, I started with building a Google form for students to fill out just as a little warm-up exercise for students to discover how much they know and don't know about climate change. Through a series of 7 questions, both multi-choice and open-ended questions, Students explore how much they know about global warming, the greenhouse effect, the Arctic and its protective white shield, the way in which human activity generates increased greenhouse gases, and what climate change means to them and whether they believe they should care about it. And so the goal of this forum is to introduce some terms and ideas that and get students thinking about what they know and how they feel about environmental change. I also created a reading resource for them to use as they complete the exercises in the curriculum. The reading resource compiles research, information, ideas, and concepts from multiple different sources, and I explore some of my own opinions about the information compiled. Now, these first two resources support the curriculum, in which is broken up into two stations or work products. Station 1 is titled, How Much Greenhouse Gases Are Emitted into the Atmosphere. The learning target of this station is, I can use graphs and diagrams about how greenhouse gases are generated and released into the atmosphere, and generate a theory about how this may unfold over time. The supporting materials introduce different types of graphs and explain what they are showing. General terminology used in the scientific research and reporting about greenhouse gases are explained, and current scientific knowledge and theories regarding how greenhouse gas emissions have changed over time are explored. Students are then asked to take this information and theorize how they think greenhouse gas emissions will look in the future, and what effect they will have on the overall health of the planet and its living organisms. Station 2 is titled Climate Change Evidence in the San Juan Mountains. The learning target of this station is, I can understand why analyzing snowpack in the San Juan Mountains is important to understanding environmental conditions in our community, how climate change is affecting snowpack, and what impact that is having on our lives. The supporting materials introduce the topic of watershed and how the snowpack in our region is the most important reservoir of drinking water in Colorado. It explores how the snowpack is created, where the water comes from, and how our local organizations analyze it in order to determine the long-term effects of changes in snowpack due to climate change. It further explores what some of those common changes are, and students are asked to take that information and create a story about how different potential changes in climate will affect the snowpack and what the ripple effect will be to the drinking water in our state. However, I have recognized that giving students materials to read and worksheets to fill out does not create lasting awareness for them. In order to build awareness that generates understanding, drives passion and creativity and action towards change, I need to create an experience that touches participants intellectually and emotionally and is not something that is easily forgotten. So this is just the beginning. I envision a 2-day workshop that includes reading materials, written exercises, Socratic seminars in which students are invited to explore a blank canvas of possibilities about how they can affect change. There would be videos to watch. I would bring in experts to speak to the students live and give students a chance to ask questions about what matters and is of interest to them. The 2 days would culminate in a climate challenge in which participants can be broken up into groups and can compete in a fun, invigorating way to build a solution to a real climate problem. Teams would present their solutions to the group and facilitators could vote for winners, Shark Tank style. I would end the event with a quiz similar to the one we started with, except this time it would be created by students. Students would individually and secretly write down a question to test the collective knowledge of the group. Questions would be submitted to the facilitators who would build the quiz, and the workshop would end with a loud bang when the entire group competes with one another or with the student-designed quiz via Kahoot or Quizlet. I believe this would be an experience remembered by the participants and the start of a growing awareness in young people about the importance of our planet and its climate for building long-term health and sustainability for all. I'd love to hear your feedback and questions about my project.
I think this is awesome. I know my school doesn't do a ton of environmental stuff. Like on Earth Day, I feel like we do something and they try to recycle and stuff, but I just think this is super awesome. And I thought that was a really organized presentation. So great job.
Thank you.
James, I just want to say, as a teacher, I think that's a great lesson, and you've got really something going there. And I would love to see how you finish it out and maybe actually use it in my classroom.
I still got a long way to go, though.
I think you have more than you think you do.
I was wondering what grade levels this lesson is aimed at.
I'd say like 9 to 10th graders. Sounds about right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Are there any more questions or feedback?
There's a question in the chat for you.
Okay.
So I think Ron is asking, he's, I think from the Department of Natural Resources, about adding in a field component to your lesson plan that you created. So having kids actually go out and learn about climate change out in the San Juan Mountains, maybe.
Speak it, James.
Yeah, that could actually probably be a pretty interesting idea, and it also allows students to get more of an idea of how climate change might have been impacting our community in general, just so that they can be more attached rather than reading materials and filling out worksheets the whole time.
And like you said at the beginning of your presentation, it gives them a sense of how it's not just like somewhere far away. It's like right there and they can see it. The effects of climate change, I guess.
Yeah. So running out of time, and we have one more presenter, Leit. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. You can go now.
Oh, I was muted. Here I go. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
All right, sounds good. Snowpack has declined by 41% from 1982 to 2016, according to a study done by the University of Arizona. Through this presentation, I'm going to be talking about two of the largest negative impacts of climate change reducing the snowpack in Colorado. Why won't this go to the next? Oh, that's weird. To begin with, I'm going to be talking about the subalpine forests and the rising tree level. As the snowpack begins to be reduced by climate change, and as the CO2 levels rise, it enables these subalpine forests to have a longer growth season, and it enables them to maintain higher photosynthesis levels because of the amount of CO2 within the atmosphere. This becomes an issue as the trees rise, they begin to push out native species of plants and animals. Next up is water gaps. Water gaps are my bad about that, you guys. A water gap is how much water is being currently used and then how much water is going to be needed in the future as populations increase. for example, the current population of Colorado is 5.7 million, but the expected population in 2015 is 8.7 million. The increase in water is going to be 1.2 million acre feet, which 1 acre foot is the same as 325,851 gallons. So between now and 2015, there's going to be another 391 billion 21,200,000 gallons of water that is going to need to be found before we can support a population of that size. One of the biggest issues with simply just the Colorado population increase is that Colorado's water supply helps 18 other states along with water going to Mexico. Because we get the amount of snow that we do, we need as much moisture in the winters as we can, because when it melts in come springtime, the my bad. I'm just gonna move on from there. I completely lost that thought. This is a chart of the Colorado River Aqueduct. Here on the right side of the screen where my cursor is, you can see Parker Dam. This is where it starts. It's right on the edge of the Arizona and California border, and it pumps water from Arizona all the way to the west into Los Angeles. This is one of the largest aqueducts in the world, stretching 242 miles, and it supplies up to 1.5 million acre feet of water. So obviously there becomes issues when the snowpack begins to melt and this water that is necessary for these cities in California, including Los Angeles, begin to lose the water from our snowpack here in Colorado. And that's all that I have.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for him?
Kind of the same question I've been asking everyone. What's your inspiration in like for this project and what, yeah, I guess, yeah.
My inspiration is, I mean, I've grown up in the outdoors and I've grown up in Durango and I've always loved being outside. And so as I've grown and I've learned what's happening and how irreversible it is and how fast we need to act, it's something that's just always stood out to me and something that I've wanted to put time and effort into.
Cool.
Any other questions?
If you were to continue this project, what would next steps look like for you?
One of the things that I started working on and ran out of time on was I was beginning to collect snow water equivalent samples up on Mullis Pass, which is figuring out how much water is in a snowpack. And I got cut short on that and was only able to make it out twice. And so if I continue this, I will attempt to make it out into the field more and then compare that data to historical data to see what's changing and what needs to be done.
It looks like you have a question in the chat.
Oh, my bad. Yes, I did use SNOTEL sites. And both times that my observations weren't perfect. The first time I went out, I got 44%, and the recorded was around 42%. And then last time I went out, though, it was 41%, and I got 41%. So but yeah, that's what I was using this snow tub.
Okay.
Does anyone have any more questions?
All right. Well, we're gonna pass
I
it
do.
over. Oh,
okay.
sorry.
I do. What made you like? How do I word this right? How is this something that you want to like continue researching in the future, or is it just something you research for?
It's definitely something where I'll have to see. It's something that interests me, and from what field work I did, I enjoyed. And so it's definitely something where I don't want to close myself off to the opportunity of continuing this in the future. But I'm not sure as of right now if I will actually continue this project specifically.
Sweet, thanks.
Thank you.